Hey, this is Sunny Sweeney, and you're listening to Walking the Floor.
I'm walking the floor over you.
Walking the floor.
I'm walking the floor. Walking the floor over you.
Hola, senors and senoritas. This is Chris Shiflett coming at you with another fresh, hot off the presses edition of your favorite podcast, Walking the Floor. Brought to you live from America's capital of country music, Los Angeles, California. And it is a beautiful day here in Los Angeles. That might just be my afternoon coffee kind of peaking in my bloodstream right now. I got a bunch of good stuff. I got a great podcast here for you today because I've got the wonderful Sunny Sweeney on my show, and she's fantastic, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, I want to give you some of my rave faves of the week, starting with the number one rave fave of the week, that goddamn new Chris Stapleton record. From a Room, Volume 1. If you're not listening to that record, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's the best. It is the best. I'm obsessed. Chris Stapleton does it again. Because I've been listening to that, it made me want to go woodshed on my guitar riffage, because not only can that guy sing like a motherfucker, but he's an insane guitar player. So I got out my Daniel Donato instructional book, New Master of the Telecaster, and I've been working on my, what do you call them? I'm working on my double stops, thanks to Mr. Daniel Donato. You should go get that book. Daniel Donato is a young guitar player out there in Nashville, and he rips it up. Check him out. Get his book. And while you're ripping on that stuff, you know, I keep getting people asking me to go into like gear talk on this show. So I try to do that a little bit in the interviews, but you know, I don't know. It just doesn't usually lend itself to that. So I'm just going to go off on a little gear tangent of my own. And, you know, on my record, there's a song called Goodnight Little Rock that I use this crazy fuzz pedal called a Bumble Buzz that I think Jack White makes, right? And it's just a crazy overdrive. And when I went out on the road, I took it with me because I was like, well, I got that crazy lead in that one song. I need that pedal. And it didn't really work for live because there's no volume knob on it. And it would like drop out the volume. So it led me on a journey of fuzz pedals. And I tried a bunch of different fuzz pedals, but I'll tell you the one that I settled on. There's two. I found this pedal called The Unpleasant Surprise. That's by a company called Fairfield Circuitry. Look it up online. I bought this pedal out when I was out in Nashville. And it is an insane fuzz with all kinds of little knobs on it and does whatever you want. And it's my favorite pedal right now. It's my favorite pedal. Wow, before I got that, I actually ordered online. It was waiting for me when I got home, a JHS Muffaletta. So I threw that in my Foo Fighter rig. I've been muffaleting the shit out of my Foo Fighter guitar tone lately. So there you go. That's my fuzz pedal moment, my gear roundup of this episode. Fuzz pedals, man. Can't live without them. What else is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. I am touring London. Goddammit. And that's about as close to a European tour as I'm going to get anytime soon. I got 2 shows in London. So if you live in the UK, get on a train, get on a bus, get in a taxi cab. I don't care how you do it, but get your way down to London on June 13th. I'm going to be opening up for Nick Sester from the band Jet. He's got a solo record coming out, or it might even be out. It's okay. It's at the 100 Club, June 13th. I'm playing acoustic, solo, opening for Nick Sester. And then the next night, June 14th at Water Rats, I'm going to be doing my own headline show, and my buddy Sam Palladio is going to come open that show. So it's 2 nights of acoustic sensitive mayhem in London, people. So all you Londoners, all you Brits, all you people anywhere near the island of the United Kingdom, you better be there, because if you're not there, you don't get to hassle me on Twitter anymore for not playing shows over there, okay? That's the deal. All right, before we get to the interview, let's go into Zounds.com land for just a brief moment. Zounds.com, your online music gear retailer. Zounds.com. Look, these are real musicians, not salespeople. and they're going to get you your gear that you order fast. Most of it they can ship to you for free, and they've got payment plans. I mean, Zounds.com, they want to work with you to get that new Charvel in your hands, to get that new Ibanez Steve Vai model, whatever it is. It could be a Telecaster. It could be a Bumblebuzz. I don't know what it is. It's what you want. It's what you want it to be. Zounds.com. Okay, let's get to my interview. All right, my guest on today's show is Sunny Sweeney, who hails from Austin, Texas. You love Sunny Sweeney. She's a great singer, songwriter, honky-tonker, makes great country music. She's got an album that came out a couple of months ago called Trophy that she co-wrote a few tunes with one of my total favorites, Lori McKenna, great songwriter, artist in her own right. It's a great record, Trophy. You know, I always appreciate the touring musician that can make it over to my studio where I do this walking the floor business first thing in the morning. You know, when you're in the middle of a tour, that's not always easy. So kudos to Sunny Sweeney for doing that. This is a lady that has worked at all levels, from like, you know, putting out her own record to being on a big major label and back in the indie world. And, you know, she's toured on tour buses and played all kinds of gigs. And we kind of kicked this thing off talking about the glamour of touring in a van, the glamour and joy of van tours, a life I know well. This is Sunny Sweeney on Walking the Floor.
That's true. In the corner
I totally could, but then it's just, you know how it is on the road. It's like when you have a free minute, like you kind of
You want to sleep?
kick it. Yeah, exactly. Go for a walk or drink a cup of coffee or something. That's funny. You want to jump in?
Yeah.
So you just mentioned that you live in Austin. So of course the first thing that popped into my head was, do you know the guys in Hay Bale? Are you friendly with that crew?
I
like
know
the
them
Continental
all.
and all that whole scene?
I know them all very well. I've known Red and Tom and Earl. I've known all of them for years and years. And actually, Earl ends up, after Hay Bale, lots of Sunday nights at Magnolia Cafe. And there's been plenty of nights where I've just gone in there too and sat there and heard stories about back in the day.
Right.
And I'm like, just tell me more. Just tell me more. I love his stories. And then Red has always been super supportive of me. And then Tom played with me for a while.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mhm,
Yeah,
so-
I'm good buddies with Tom. And I actually interviewed Red and Kevin Smith, you know, bass
Oh, yeah, I
player,
love him too.
for this podcast
cool.
a while back. Yeah, I mean, I love, God, as a guitar player, Red. You
He's-
just like love to watch that guy do his thing. It's amazing.
I just did a Guy Clark tribute with Bruce Robinson. It's called The Next Waltz. It's a series that he's doing. And Red was the guitar player, and there's
Cool.
video of it. It's like kind of like it's like a live music video sort of. And Red does this thing where he like shakes his upper half when he sees me, and like he stands there and he kind of like points his toes and does this. And so in the video, I mean, you can't tell that's what he's doing, but that's what he was doing in the very beginning. So if you end up watching it, watch for the upper half shake.
Nice. Okay, good to know. He's
It's
got a little
hilarious.
jiggle in his wiggle,
It's
I'm guessing.
hilarious,
Yeah.
yeah.
Has Austin been overrun by Californians in recent? I mean, I don't know how long you've been there, but it seems
20
to
years
me
I've been
like,
there.
yeah, like in the, you know, somewhere in the late 90s into the 2000s, it seems like lots of people that I know from here moved down there.
Yeah, you know, I moved down there in 96 and
Where'd you grow up?
Northeast Texas.
Oh, okay.
Right by like Oklahoma and Louisiana and Arkansas, like up in
Okay.
that corner. So, yeah, I moved down there in 96 to kind of just try school, and it was an amazing little town when I moved there, and now it's turned into a big ass city, you know?
Right.
And traffic is 17 hours like it is here to go
Right.
anywhere. And
It seems like we have spread LA traffic into much of the rest of the country. Like now when I go on
It's
tour, I feel like
crazy.
you'll be trucking down the road like, oh, we're making amazing time. And you get right on the outskirts of whatever town it is you're going
Yeah.
to. And all of a sudden, you know, you're in traffic. You're like, fuck, it's like LA again.
What we
LA is
noticed-
everywhere.
yeah, and what we noticed is on this run that we're on right now, it started in Seattle. Like Seattle traffic was decent. That was a good one. This is Harley, by the way, husband's
Yes.
playing guitar with me. So we started in Seattle, then we went to Portland, then San Francisco, and like all of the towns I've never done a West Coast tour. I've played sporadically, here or there, but like doing an actual.
Because this is your 4th record, right?
Yeah.
How is that possible that you never came out to the West Coast?
Because it's expensive as hell. That's why I need people to come to the gigs. Yeah. I mean, it's hard, and people think it's so glamorous, and I'm like, no.
This is the hardest stretch of the country to tour. People don't know that. It's like so spread out. Every drive's a 10-hour drive,
Yeah, and in a van.
Right,
so it's not like we're carousing around like in a, bus or, even having a driver. I mean, we're like driving, it's what you have to do.
Yeah. I just did a West Coast van tour a couple weeks ago, actually.
Makes me want to jump for joy.
My van actually broke down in the middle of like literally nowhere in Idaho.
Oh, God.
The fan just tore off the engine, was like kicking the shit out of everything in there. And we pulled over and we went to a mechanic and we were like, do you think we could make it to Ketchum? And he just started laughing. He was like, no
He's
chance.
Like, no, you're going to need a new van, Chris.
Exactly.
Okay?
I was like, fuck, I'm on a van tour again. Wow. This is real.
Yeah. But you know what? It also, the perks of a van tour are, we talked about this the other day. I've been in a bus before, and I like the bus because then you can sleep while you're traveling.
Yes.
So that's nice.
Yeah, definitely.
But I also really like having like a hotel room to sleep in.
Right,
I think that is a perk. Everybody gets a shower. Like it's.
There's no pulling over to Starbucks in a van.
Yeah, or in a bus.
Yeah, I'm sorry, in a bus.
Right. Yeah, sure, totally.
We pull over to Starbucks at least 5 times probably per day.
Oh yeah,
of
course.
But then also when you start seeing any success, you start feeling it more because then financially you're not like dumping it all into a bus. You know what I mean? So until you're just like huge and it makes sense, I don't feel like you should try to get a bus.
Hey, do you tour a lot? Do you spend a lot of time on the road?
Yeah, we do. So, hence this lovely look here. We left at 7:00 this morning from Bakersfield.
I almost showed up today in a full sweatsuit. So
I wish you would have.
This is Los Angeles.
You're lucky I put a
very
bra
casual. Well, I'm wondering, like, what's the scene like in Austin? I mean, you said you're from Texas originally, a different part of Texas, but why'd you wind up settling there instead of like Nashville or LA or somewhere like that?
So I moved to Austin to go to school.
Okay.
And then I didn't even do music until I got out of school.
Really? Mm-mm. Like play or sing or anything?
Mm-mm.
Really?
And my dad had offered me a guitar when I was like 12, and I said, oh, that's for old people, because that's what they did. They sat around and played music.
I'm going through that with my kids right now.
I mean, and I get it. I mean, my stepkids, they don't give a shit. Like, they don't care at all that I play music. Like, it is so insignificant, and that's totally fine. Their friends, however, are like, oh, your stepmom's in a band? Oh my God, it's so cool. And they're just like, whatever.
My son told me last night, because I was actually sitting there writing out some questions for this interview. And my 13-year-old, he's my oldest, he goes, you should interview hip hop people on your podcast, because then it'd be cool.
Okay, wait, you were asking me about Eddie earlier, Eddie Perez. So I have a story about Raul Malo. One time, me and him, I've been friends with them for a long time, and me and him and his wife were sitting at their house, and, they're Cuban, and they make the most awesome Cuban coffee, and it's just like whacks you out, and it's so good. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good. So we're sitting on their porch, this was years and years ago, and Dino is their oldest son, and I just adore that child. And he's an adult now, but I adore him since he was a little kid.
I think I just met him because I went to the Maverick
show. He looked just like Raul.
In Nashville just recently.
Yeah, he looked just like Raul. So anyway, so Raul calls me when I leave, because we had just been chilling on the porch or whatever. And he calls me when I left, and he said, dying laughing, he said, so remember that picture that you gave my son? And I said, yeah. And he said, I just heard him in there talking with his friend about it, saying, there was a superstar country singer at my house. And Raul's like, what the hell am I, chopped liver?
Yeah. And the answer to that question is yes. To your kids, you are a chopped liver.
This was when Dino was, I don't know, 10 or something. I mean, he was little.
Yeah.
But it was so cute. And now I get that. And I've seen a bunch of my friends now as I've gotten into this business with kids, and they, have their kids kind of just sleeping on the floor over there, you know,
Yeah.
under a table or in a merch bin or something, you
Yeah,
know, and
totally.
it's just what you do. And
Yeah.
you give up like certain, you know, aspects of your life so that you can
Yeah.
continue doing this business. And if you have kids, then that adds a whole nother dimension, I imagine.
Sure. I mean, I think it's, you know, it's there's pros and cons to it. It's like my kids have gotten to travel all over, and that's great. You
Sure.
know, and in the summer times they come out on tour, and so like that's very, you know, comfortable to them and all that. But you know, during the
And they're
school year,
used to it,
and they're
probably.
used to it. It's what's normal. You know, it's not an abnormal. They're not like, whoa, I'm around this band, because that's just all they ever know.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like their uncle or something.
Right, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. So I think that's super cool. I mean, the downside, you know, as you get to the age that I'm at now, and you got kids and you want to be around for them, is I just wind up missing a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
You know. So that's just sort of the
That's how I feel with my dog.
totally.
I really
I feel
do.
that with my dog too, man.
I
And my dog
totally-
looks at me a little cross-eyed when I get home from tour. It's like
Yeah.
takes him a minute. I'm like, really? I got to warm up to you? I understand why my wife's a little mad at me, but come on.
Well, normally I take my dog with me. He's a little guy. He's only like 4 pounds, but this one I left him at home. He's getting a haircut. He gets what's called the gentleman's cut. His name is Doug, and he's a little tiny Yorkie. And,
Oh, Yorkie.
oh
even.
God, I mean,
Wow.
I'm obsessed with him, and you can ask them. I always just like talk about him all the time and squeeze his little butt, and he's just so cute. I just
I'll
love
show
him.
you a picture. I have a mini husky that's pretty goddamn
Oh,
adorable. So
those
we
are
can
cute.
we can show each other his pictures. You know.
Oh, yeah.
When we're done with this.
Cool.
Okay, so wow, so you didn't grow up playing music. I think that's pretty fascinating, considering
I grew up
that
with
you're-
it. I just didn't grow
Right.
up. And I sang in church. I mean,
Oh, okay.
in choir, but,
right.
you know.
And so what were you listening to? Like, how'd you get into music? You know, what was that?
I had 2 households. So I had my dad, my stepmom, and my mom and my stepdad.
Right.
And my stepdad's the one that offered me the guitar, and I wanted nothing to do with it until after college and graduated. And they're like, finish school and you can do anything you want to do. They meant the world is your oyster. But I was like, I graduated and I go, okay, I'm starting a band. And they're like, that's not what we meant.
That's not what we paid for college for. What had you gone to school for? Like, what
Public
were you thinking?
relations.
Oh, okay.
So I have a degree in that. But anyway, so I, with my tail between my legs, went back to Paul, that's my stepdad, and I said, will you teach me guitar? And he said, I'm sorry, what? Could you say that a little louder where everybody can hear you? And I said, will you teach me guitar? So he taught me guitar, and then I like started a band that day pretty much and started calling around, and I had a gig 2 weeks later, like after I got a guitar. It was horrible. There was like 8 minutes in between each song.
Right.
Like kind of rehearsing on stage. It was at a place called the Carousel Lounge in Austin. And I didn't know, I still don't know shit, but I really didn't know shit then.
And Austin's like a hotbed of all kinds of music. You know, it's known as this like music, you
Yeah.
know, incredible players and stuff. How was that? If you're just jumping into it as a you know young adult, did you find like were people trying to help you and
Oh,
teach
yeah.
you the ropes and all that, take you under their wing a little bit?
I have, well, Red's one of them, Earl's one of them, Dallas Wayne's one of them. Dallas came up to me at one of my very first gigs, and he said, I know you don't know me, but I think you got a lot of talent. I'd like to help you, can I? And like he started playing bass with me and
Nice.
singing, and then like Red, you know, gave me some guitar lessons, and then Earl is just like the most amazing person on the planet. I love him. So yeah, I mean, all those guys, they just kind of helped. I mean, I didn't
Right.
ask them to help. Can you help me? But they just kind of did, and they were super cool about it, and they're not judgy. Me and Red split a Tuesday night for a couple years at Egos, and he would like sit there, and it kind of made me want to become better because I knew he was going to sit there and watch me play guitar, and he would
Right.
sit there in the front row and be like, you're doing it wrong. Here, let's do it like this. But to me, that's like awesome. I mean, my guitar player at the time was like, why is Red Volkart sitting in front of you? Can you please ask him to move? We are not doing any Merle Haggard covers. Yeah. So anyway, but
I mean,
yeah.
so well, how long was it? I mean, okay, so this is interesting. So how long was it till you got your deal with your first record deal?
So
Like, did you play around for years? Because that seems like if
Couple
you had
years.
only started after college, like it couldn't have been that long until you got your first
I
record
mean,
deal.
yeah, I got started my band like I think I've been doing this 15 years, so whatever the math is, like
Right.
2002, 3, somewhere in there.
And did you start writing songs right away?
I wrote a song the first week I had a guitar, and it actually ended up on my first record, and I still like it.
Great.
So, yeah.
Right. Nice. Yeah. That's
that was like the first song I ever wrote.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There were a bunch of shitters after that,
Right,
though. Like,
of course.
but I thought that was a really
I got
good
this thing
song.
figured out. Damn. No, I don't.
No, I found the E minor and fell in love. I was like,
Right.
oh, yay. Okay, this is good. But anyway, so then I got a gig on Sunday nights at the Poodle Dog Lounge in Austin. And I played there for maybe like 3 years, I guess, every Sunday. And from 8 to midnight or something. And then I don't know how my record ended up on a record label desk. I mean, I wasn't looking for a record deal. I didn't do that whole thing. And anyway, some person in Nashville ended up with it and got it to...
Had you made a whole record, or was it like a demo? Or
Yeah, this was a record.
Okay.
And
Had you put it out yourself initially? Oh, okay.
This was like
that's your first record?
2005.
Okay.
And then the Nashville people wrote me a MySpace message.
Oh, yeah.
And said, I like your record. I got it. I'd like to hear you play. And I said, oh, that's funny. I'm going to Nashville in
Young
like 2
people
weeks.
listening right now are going to go, what's MySpace?
Yeah, exactly. What's a telephone booth?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm going to go to Nashville in a couple weeks. I have this show if you want to come. And so they went. And then a week after that, I got a record deal. But then
That was with Big Machine?
And then I stayed there for 6 years and made one record. And, that was...
Did they re-release your first record?
Yeah, they put it out.
Right.
It was exactly the same. They changed the font, the name, like the color of my name.
Right.
From like black to white or white to black or something.
Well, this is an interesting thing, and I wanted to ask you about it because I thought, to me, Big Machine is like a pop country, more mainstream kind of label. And so I just thought, the records that you made on that label would probably veer more in that direction. I didn't know if they had like tried to, record, right? I thought
Only
it was,
Uno record.
I didn't realize that you had made the first one prior to that. But so I thought that maybe like that experience would have been them trying to kind of push you in a more pop country direction, which I don't know if they did or didn't. But I was surprised in listening to them that they still felt very like, there was a real heavy honky-tonk influence. Which you don't really hear in mainstream country music at all anymore,
You don't. And I have a lot of opinions musically because I have done this from like the bar rooms up to the clubs, like loaded my own gear in, I still drive my own van. I mean, most of the time, like we've been driving a lot. I've been driving a lot to, this trip. I would like help, but I mean, also I like keeping it small. And so like smaller you keep it, the less overhead you have. And you know what I mean? And so like, I know how to do all that. I can run my own soundboard. I can set up my own speakers on a stick. I mean, I know how to do all that.
Sure.
And I don't know if that helped me or hurt me, but I know that it made me opinionated. And cause I know what I want. All I care about is the music, and I want my music to sound good.
Right.
So, we had this conversation on the way to your interview today about how some people are told what to sing, and that doesn't really go over very well with me because I know I like trusting my fans. They've been there with me since the beginning. So I like trusting my fans and letting them tell me what needs to go on my record. So I don't give a shit if they hear a song before it's recorded.
Right. Right.
So I would prefer that actually, because they're also going to be honest with you and be like, stinker, take that one off,
Yeah.
Or they'll go crazy.
Yeah. Don't you wish you could go out and road test an album before you record it?
I do.
We always
though.
do it. Oh, that's great.
I do
it
a
always
lot.
seems like it's something that happens in reverse. You go
Totally.
out and you can instantly, when you play a song in front of a crowd, tell like what works and what doesn't work, even within the song.
Well, and we had a meeting about that when I was making that major label record. And there's one particular song called Drink Myself Single, and I just played it the weekend before at Green Hall. Mm-hmm. And the crowd went crazy. I mean, granted, they're all wasted and they're all drinking beer and it's hot, and they're like, woo! And I go into this meeting and I said, this song went over really well last weekend. And they were like, well, that's a live bar. This is a record for country radio. And I was like, okay, they're still all people that are going to be listening to it. I don't really understand Yeah. So I guess I don't know.
Well,
It ended up going on my record, though.
I mean, I was getting to, there was a line I think it was in your bio that said, she is now enjoying the freedom of releasing her music via 30 Tigers and being able to pick out and record the songs that she chooses, which to me suggested that was not the case at Big Machine. So that's why I wanted to see what that experience was like, you know?
I have nothing bad to say at all. I truly don't. People always want me to, they go, it was bad, wasn't it? And I was like, not really. I mean, they did everything they said they were going to do. I had Billboard success.
Well, that was the other thing. It said that you were the first, and I found this like crazy, hard to believe, but and so there must have been some good times there too, because they said that
they did
that you were the first
they said they were going to do.
Woman artist to break in the top 10 at country radio in a decade.
It was, I think it was like from whenever Taylor Swift's record came out. There was some statistic, and then like there wasn't another new female that came out until I think it was like maybe 5 years or something.
Oh wow!
So the girl would go into the top 10 since whenever that was.
It's funny, like when I read that, I was like, God, my perception of mainstream country music is so off, because it seems like there's always lots of superstar female country singers out there. You know what I mean?
There are, but those are all they were considering them established.
Oh, okay, I see. Right, okay.
So, but I mean, I loved my time there. I got tons of exposure, and I met lots of really cool people, and learned a whole bunch about myself and about the business,
about songwriting and everything.
I wrote so much during that time, because I mean I had 6 years to make a record,
right?
And so I have 6 years worth of material and 10 songs.
And were you living in Nashville in that time, or did you stay in Austin?
Part of the time I did. So that was the other thing, was I moved away from Texas 2 times during that time. I moved up there like during 2007, and then I moved up there during 2009 when I was going through a divorce, and then that record came out in like 2011, but I think I recorded it in 2010. So I was there on and off for some of it.
Right.
But I always end up back in Texas.
Right. I mean, in that time, did you like jump into the whole songwriting culture of Nashville, which is like, it's a songwriter's town and all that.
Totally.
And all the sort of co-writes and working with other, happening songwriters.
Oh, yeah. I did all that.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what is that experience like? Especially,
I still do that.
You must have been fairly green at that point.
I had never co-written until like 2007. So when I started, about 2006, I guess.
Do you enjoy it? Like, do you have a handful of people that you've worked with now that you go to and have a relationship with?
Oh, yeah.
Because there can be those times where you're just like in a room, like, I don't have any ideas, and neither does this.
Oh, no, those still happen. Those totally still happen. I had one the last time I was in Nashville, and it was me and this friend of mine writing with this other person that we didn't know. And me and my friend were texting inside the room, coming up with how the hell are we getting out of here? Because, I mean, we were all just
I'm going to have to sit here for 3 hours. God
hey, dude, I got the bird flu. I got to go. So, but I mean, there's also co-writes that I go to where I know, because I know them, and it's more just like a friend and, just like a therapy session. And so you just kind of go, and there's no ego, there's no weird anything. And
do you go in with like half-finished song ideas?
Sometimes you just never know.
Patch them up.
Sometimes I don't have anything in my head. Sometimes I have, just a melody. Sometimes I have a title. Sometimes I have just an idea. Sometimes I have, words written out, but no melody. It just really depends. And lately I was just talking to my friend the other day that I write with all the time. I haven't written a song in like a month at all, like not even tried. Right. Because I've just been so busy.
But that's not a very long break, I think, for most people. That most people that aren't in that songwriting culture, I think that would be considered like, fuck, I just wrote a song a month ago. Yeah.
Well, but the Nashville thing is the staff writers, I mean, they write one song a day. Right. Sometimes 2 songs a day.
Sure.
I have plenty of friends that I know are just like cranking them out because that's just kind of get into a little flow, I guess, and they just like, song, and then Saturday they hang out, and then somebody else wants to write on Sunday, and
I mean, when you're writing at that pace, how do you decide when it's time to make your own record? Because I imagine by now you must have a stack of songs that you like, probably more songs than you'll ever wind up recording for yourself anyway, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Or like as you're going, are you kind of like...
I pick out the ones as I'm going
right.
that I think, would make a good record, or make something like thematically go together for a record. But then I feel like there's also songs that like I'll hear of my friends. 2 songs on my new record are my friends' songs. And I heard them and wanted to cover them. So then I didn't even have to write them. They just were like already, exactly what I needed.
Yeah. That's a great thing about country music. And you see this with guys like, some of the legends, like, whoever it is, Waylon Jennings or Merle Haggard or people like that. Some of these guys that are like the greatest songwriters of all time still do loads of other people's songs.
Oh, yeah.
As well as their own. They're just doing their own the whole time, but then they're doing other people's songs constantly. And it's
Picking
weird.
out cover songs is an art, in my opinion.
It's a real difference between the culture around rock music and the culture around country music, where that's kind of looked down upon in rock music.
Oh, really?
They had a hit, but that was a cover.
Really?
They didn't even write that one.
Really?
Kind of thing. And you don't see that in country
I don't
music.
know much about rock, so you're going to have to tell me about that. Like, I honestly...
It's funny, like, I think, like, I don't know if this is just all the time, but, like, certainly when I was a kid coming up playing in bands, we were, like, in high school, we were like, we gotta have our own songs. And you look back and go, like, God, why weren't we a fucking cover band? Like, people might have liked us then, We're, like, playing our own terrible, like, an hour of our own terrible, shitty songs, you know what I mean? Should have been playing, like, a fucking Guns N' Roses song. Should be one of, like, woo, But it's...
Freebird!
Yeah, I mean, that's a real difference. Well, all this talk about songwriting stuff leads me to... I know you did some writing with Lori McKenna on this new record, and that record she put out last year is my favorite record of last year. I go back to it over and over. I think I've cycled through almost every song. It's like my favorite song,
It's so good.
And I'm like kind of obsessed with it. So I'm curious what that was like to work with her.
Well, so I again with the whole label thing, back when I was being pitched songs where they like. You go to like a meeting and like people bring songs from their publishers. It's like a whole thing that I didn't know any of that existed, like the whole world. And one of the very first songs, if not the first song that I put like on hold, which means for the people listening that I hear a song that I didn't write and then the publisher puts it on hold basically.
Oh, right. So that nobody else records it.
Right. Because I really loved it. Was a song called The Old Me. And it was this cool guitar thing, and it was like, like it's just very cool, like groovy guitar. And then I heard this voice, and I am a voice stickler. Like I want somebody that sounds like themselves. I don't want any compressed, where it all sounds the same. You can't even tell who it is.
Yeah.
I'm all about unique voices, and that's why I love Loretta Lynn. That's why I love Jeannie C. Riley. Wanda Jackson. I mean, all those women, Jessie Coulter, Tammy Wynette, I could pick them out. If they were singing each other's songs, I would know who they were. Yeah. So anyway, I hear this voice and I couldn't even concentrate on the song anymore because the voice was so cool. And I was like, I want that song. That is a badass song. It's exactly like something I would say. It's so cool. And so I put that song on hold. And as it turns out, it was a Lori McKenna and Mark Sanders co-write. And I ended up with that on my record.
Oh, okay.
My second record. And so anyway, I basically just like stalked her until she would write with me. And we've become friends over the years. And I think that she's one of, if not the best songwriter that I've ever written with in my life.
Really?
I don't even know what she is. Like, I don't even know what she is. Because she's the nicest, most humble person that lives, sincerely.
Right. That's a song on her record. Always be humble and kind.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, she lives it.
She's singing it.
She totally lives it. Her kids are all great. Like, she's just such a good mom.
And she's not based in Nashville, right? And
she's up north.
Somewhere?
Yeah,
right.
she's somewhere. And in Boston. And
But, like, how does she go about doing what she does? Is it just the two of you in a room? Like, does she come in with a bunch of ideas as well?
Lori and we've done different things. Like sometimes it's my idea, sometimes it's her idea. One of the things that she is, what I feel that I love about her the most is I'll have like a song idea because this happened twice, I know for sure. And she just starts playing. And then before I'm even finished talking about what the idea is, she's like, spit out a verse. I was like, I hate you and I love you. I hate you and I love you. I hate you and I love you.
Yeah.
But she's got a very special gift.
Yeah.
And I just think she's fantastic. So.
Well, so tell me about making this new record, Trophy.
I worked with Dave Brainerd, and
He's the producer?
He's my producer.
Where is he based? Like, where'd you do it?
He's in Nashville.
Okay.
He made the Brandy Clark record called 12 Stories a couple years ago, and Brandy's a friend of mine, and I love her anyway, but I loved this record. I just loved it, and kind of looked around and who did that? I want my record to sound like that, with the vocals out front and like not smushed out in the back, and where you can actually have lead instruments that are country instruments as like, being in the mix, not just like padded in the back so that you can say, well, there's a steel guitar in it. It must be country.
It's funny you say that because that was one of the first things I noticed listening to it was how up front the steel is.
Yeah, because it's a country record.
Right.
I mean, I started it intentionally off. The first note anybody hears is a steel guitar.
I'll tell you, the first thing that popped into my head when I was maybe a couple songs into your record was I thought, this is the way a modern country record should sound.
Thanks.
You know what I mean? Like.
Thank you.
And to be honest, I don't really know the world of mainstream country music. It's just not what I just don't know it. But
this record is not mainstream by any stretch.
Well, I know, but it's like what I would imagine a mainstream country record would sound like, and then and I don't mean to like diss anybody or any genre classification or any of that stuff because I think modern country gets like picked on a lot too in a weird way. But it is like whatever. It's more of like. Modern country sounds like, pop. It's pop music.
Sounds like a lot of different things.
Right. You know what I mean? And I was just having this conversation with somebody earlier. I think like all genres have become, it's all crossover now. Modern rock and modern country and modern R&B and whatever. If there's still a classification that's just pop, they're all very similar now to my ear. You know what I mean?
It's kind of a melting pot.
Right.
And that's why I think that actual stone cold like country music sticks out because there are fiddles, there are steel guitars, there are Telecasters, but
there's a funny thing that has happened where people that make country music now get called Americana or
I know,
country.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, and I'm wondering
because it's too country for country,
right? Like, so where do you see yourself, or do you even care?
I don't.
Do you even think about it?
I don't even care. Somebody asked me that the other day in an interview, and they were trying to get me to say something bad about country, like modern country, and I was like, what? I'm not going to say anything.
Right.
You can just stop with the shenanigans.
Yeah.
And he's like, so you're basically doing a pushback against what's going on in Nashville. And I said, no, I'm not doing any pushback. I'm just doing what I do.
Right.
It happens to be pushing against what, the majority of modern country is, but I'm doing what I do. I'm not doing it with an intent. I'm not doing it to stress anybody out. I'm just making music. I'm from East Texas. When I wanted to be a singer, and write songs and I opened my mouth, this is what happened. This is how I sounded. I didn't like set out to be like, oh, I'm going to be a country singer and I'm from Canada, or I'm from, Boston.
Big country music scene up there.
No, but I'm saying like anywhere, just geographically how I talk.
Yeah.
And I sing. I know there's 2 country singers from Canada specifically that are more country than I am.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And just like country, like super country.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter where you're from, but like that's my excuse is that I'm from Texas. I just started singing and that's what happened.
Well, this is interesting too because I read that you had like an association with like the red dirt scene when you were first starting out, and so I've always been curious about that because I don't know too much about it, but what is red dirt? What makes that a specific subgenre within the world of country music? Because I've listened to some bands that are called red dirt and it doesn't sound like I don't get what the specific thing is. You know what I mean?
People try to label stuff. That's the problem.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't even know.
But where you're from, that is like the home of red dirt, right? In that corner of Texas, in Oklahoma.
In
and
Oklahoma,
all that,
yeah.
Right.
But when I'm born in Texas, like I was born there. I was also born a female. So those are the 2 things I can't help. Where I was born and what sex I am.
With modern technology, you can change the female part, actually. Hold on.
But you know what I mean? Like I can't help where I was born. I can't
Right.
help that I was born a female. But automatically people don't have anything else to say, so they just go, she's a Texas artist.
Right.
You know, and like, just for the record, I am the loudest, proudest Texan on the planet. I have it tattooed on my body. Like, I love Texas. Sure. But just because I was born there and just because I'm a female doesn't mean that I can't play with men and also play outside of Texas.
Sure.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So as a joke,
I talked to a lot of Texas artists that have specifically said, like, because I know Texas has a real insular, long music
tight.
history.
Yeah,
you know,
and we're all tight, and
it's
we all
almost kind of a
appreciate
circuit
it.
down there. But I talked to a lot of Texas artists that say similar things to what you're saying, like that it was important to them to get out of that and to get out and tour
you have
everywhere.
to.
And all
That's
that
why
sort of
we're
stuff.
here.
Right.
I mean, you know, but also you have to build it. It's just like starting over when you come out here, you know, and some shows we've had quite a few people at. I mean, there's been 2 or 3 shows that were like packed, and I was thrilled because it was the first time I played there. But then there were some that were not packed at all, you know.
I know that feeling well.
But you know what? It's fine.
Totally.
You can build it, and
you
I
gotta,
know
those are the shows that you have to like really dig deep and like work extra hard. You know, what I mean?
And
It's
we
funny.
ended up having a great time. I mean,
I noticed on this tour that I just did, the nights that I had the most amazing shows where I'm like, God, I can do no wrong, and the club's packed, and you're like, woo! We're always, every single one of those was followed by
a stinker.
A stinker. And it's like the stinker's made worse because the night before you were just like, woo, I'm Elvis, man. I'm on top of the world. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny, man. It's like, playing live, it's a real mind fuck.
It is.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had a conversation the other day, all of us, about this. Like, if one person is in a like shit mood, you know, then it kind of trickles down to everyone else. So even if it's like a day that doesn't
drag the whole team down.
Yeah, but even if it doesn't seem ideal, like, try to find something, just something to focus on. You know, for God's sake, let's go get Starbucks. I mean, that can make anybody have a better day.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes if you have too much Starbucks, then we end up doing washboard impressions with our mouth. Well, I do. They don't.
Right.
And that usually lightens the mood a little bit.
Yeah. Folks, I want to apologize. I hit Starbucks 7 times today, and I'm in a little weird mood now. Well, speaking of all that, like, what's next for you? I know that your album's new, and you said you're on tour right now. I mean, are you just going to be touring for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, we, have stuff on my website, sunnysweeney.com, and we have some other runs. We're already booking another West Coast run.
Oh, nice.
So
have you played Pappy and Harriet's yet? Include that in your next run.
Where
Look
is
it
that
up.
at?
It's out in the desert. It's a couple hours from here. So you go out.
Which desert?
It's out like Yucca. Yes, it's right by Joshua Tree.
I want to go there.
It is, no joke, the best fucking venue in the world. And for what you're doing, it's like you'd be so right at home.
Really?
You'll love it. Trust
Cool.
me. Just go there and play.
I saw Paul McCartney step off and just do
Yes.
an impromptu set.
Yes.
It's like a biker bar kind
Yes.
of vibe. And
Well, what
Stop
it
it.
is it's an old movie set where they used to shoot westerns. Like, I think it was like Roy Rogers or one of the, it's like that kind of thing. So there's an old West town where, like, seriously, like old West.
I went to
movies were
Joshua
shot.
Tree once, but I don't know about this bar.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit away from there, but it's not too far. So
Okay.
you drive up into the hills, and I believe, so the story goes, that the club Pappy and Harris was built so like the movie crews would have somewhere to have a beer and party. Whatever.
Oh, wow.
But the gals that run the place are the greatest. They take such good care of the bands,
Awesome.
and it's just like you can't fail there. It's the crowd's always amazing, and
Awesome.
it's one of those venues that people just go to anyway. So it's like there's always going to be people at the gig, and it's just
Awesome.
amazing. Yeah.
Oh, I want to do that.
That was the crown jewel of the tour that I just did. Is
that right?
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of great shows. Nashville was great. New York was like
Where'd y'all play
surprisingly
in
amazing.
Nashville?
Played at the High Watt.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
where we did our Americana thing. Americana Showcase was at that place.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it was great. I was stoked because I made my record out in Nashville, and it was important to me. I got lots of friends out there and stuff. And I really wanted to have a good show out there, and then that was one of the best ones too. So I was
Cool.
thrilled. Yeah.
So,
Well, you guys have those nice guitars in your hands. Would you like to play a song?
sure.
That would be great.
Do you want to do Better Bad Idea? Sure. And cover me on the weird chord. You ready?
Yep. You gonna come and sing? Or you gonna do the little run through first?
Yeah, do the little.
Little bit.
Or no, I see. wash our dirty minds with a bottle of white wine. Do some things that we can't take back. Cross every single line. Get higher than a kite. Baby, what do you say to that? In the corner of this black heart, a full deck of wild cards. Tell me, are you scared to make a bet? Are you in or are you out with all the sins I'm thinking about? Or do you have a better bad idea? You always play it safe, no need to be afraid. I won't bite unless you want me to. No pain, no gain, that's what the people say. I don't believe that I believe that's true. In the corner of this black heart, a full deck of wild cards. Tell me, are you scared to make a bet? Are you in or are you out with all the sins I'm thinking about? Or do you have a better bad idea? Let me in on your better plan. You got one, baby, I'm all in. In the corner of this black heart, a full deck of wild cards. Tell me, are you scared to make a bet? Are you in or are you out with all the sins I'm thinking about? Or do you have a better bad idea? Or do you have a better bad idea? Or do you have a better bad idea? Thank you.
That's the sound of one hand clapping.
All right, I like it. A round of applause.
All right, that was Sunny Sweeney on Walking the Floor. Make sure you get out and check out her album Trophy. Came out a few months ago. She's got a lot of upcoming tour dates, so check that out at sunnysweeney.com. And her Twitter handle is like the best one I think I've encountered so far. Usually people just have their name be their Twitter handle, but hers is at Gettin' Sweenered. So go get Sweenered with Sunny Sweeney. While you're at it, make sure you go onto Spotify and check out the Walking the Floor with Chris Shiflett playlist. Listen to it. I'll be updating it regularly. And if you like it, follow it. I'm trying to build that thing up. And then while you're doing that, check out my latest record, West Coast Town. Don't forget, I'll be in London June 13th and June 14th at the 100 Club and Water Rats, respectively. That's it for this week. Adios, amigos!